ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
The LouieTeeNetwork is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Thursday Night Football Overtime. Packers, Lions, NFC North family business. And if these two teams said they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, woo-wee, that's some good old-fashioned family business. Boy, that was good stuff. Everything that I thought it would be and then some. Thought this would be a good game. I've said this now, 3 weeks running. Thursday Night Football is better when it's two teams playing against each other within the division. It just makes for a better matchup because you're playing on short notice. It's easier. It's a better product, and it's easier to get a better product, a better game, more competitive game when it's two teams that know each other. Not all the pieces and parts and staff members are going to be the same. There will be changes, but they know you, you know them. It's about who's going to out-execute who at that point, who's the healthiest, so forth and so forth. But the Lions continue to prove why they're the best in show in the NFC, now improving to 12-1 with their 34-31 walk-off victory over the Green Bay Packers. Packers dropped to 9-4, still in great shape to make the postseason, but they will not win this division now, virtue of this loss. They've now been swept by the Lions. They're now back 3 games with that sweep. You can call it 4 now if the two teams were to be tied, which you're only 4 weeks left in the season at this point now. You're not catching Detroit, pretty much is what I'm telling you. So now Green Bay can only hope for a wild card, which they're in a really good spot to get. And it was a valiant effort tonight. Slow start for the Packers, but they came on like game busters, started very fast in the second half. We'll talk about that when we get to Green Bay, but to the victors go the spoils. We'll start this night off talking about the 12-1 Detroit Lions. And what more can I say? What more can I say about Dan Campbell that hasn't already been said? We'll talk about, and everyone will talk about his aggressive nature. And some will think he is ballsy. Some will call him stupid. Some will call him a mad scientist. Some will call him aggressive, just depending on what your perception of what he has done over the life of his career as the head coach of the Lions is. I just take it in stride. I've been one that has talked about the aggressive nature of offensive-minded coaches, and I use Dan Campbell as an outlier. He does not fit in the offensive-minded, aggressive category because he's different. Dan Campbell is aggressive at all times. And this is why I love his stance. Not saying that I necessarily agree with every decision that he makes. I didn't agree when they were up 3 to go for it on 4th down at your own 35-yard line or wherever they were. I didn't agree with that. And if you were going to try and go for it, I would have rather seen them fake punt it, right? It was 4th and 1 or 4th and inches. They had already quarterback sneaked and gotten it. So I don't know. And Green Bay had tightened up inside on that. I don't know if he would have gotten it there, but I would have gone with a fake punt there instead of, if you're going to go for it. Like, it was a little dicey, but this is why I love Dan Campbell. His players don't have to wonder or guess. They don't have to think to themselves, is coach going to go for it here or what? Now, there's certain instances where I'm like, probably should just punt the ball, or in that situation there at the end, there's certain situations where you make that call to go for it on 4th down. I didn't think that was one of them. I thought that was one of those situations where you should kick the field goal right there, right? The risk is much greater than the reward. Now, ultimately, they got it. So the reward was the big payoff. Run out the clock. Packers never see it. Kick the walk-off field goal, win the game. But the risk of doing that was that you don't convert, and now you could lose the game in regulation without even getting an attempt up. So, to me, the risk far outweighed the reward, because if you just kick the field goal, Green Bay's got to get in the field goal range. And, you know, with the new rules, getting in the field goal range is very easy. Very easy. And with the kickers kicking from the distances that they're kicking from nowadays, it's easy to get in the field goal range without a timeout. And they would have had every bit of 40 seconds maybe. I don't remember the exact amount of time left, but it was somewhere in that neighborhood. 40 seconds is an eternity when you get a touchback and you're starting at the 30-yard line. 120-yard completion and you're at midfield. Another 5-6-yard completion after that, and you're in field goal range. Like, at least for an attempt, right? Not every kicker has the ability to kick the ball from 61 yards or whatever, but in this day and age, 59-yard field goals aren't what they used to be. So I get the idea of not wanting to give Jordan Love the football with an opportunity to get in the field goal range for an opportunity to tie the game. But again, the risk there, I mean, Jared Goff got his foot stepped on. If he doesn't get back to that handoff, and let's say he can't make it there, and he gets touched down, they could lose this game without getting an opportunity. And now all of those people that are talking about Dan Campbell being aggressive and what a ballsy call, oh my God, those same people would have turned on him and said that was a stupid decision. And so there's a fine line that you walk. But the thing that I can lay my head down at night if I'm a Lions fan, if I'm a player on that team, if I'm a part of that staff, I lay my head at night peacefully, no matter what happens, knowing that this is what we do. This is how we live. This is how we conduct business. Every week, first, second, third, fourth quarter, first week of the season, 8th week of the season, 15th week of the season, playoffs, NFC Championship game. They did in the championship game, everybody crucified them, but that's how they live. It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. It's damn sure not for the weak-stomached individuals or the faint of heart. It's not for everybody. But that's how they get down. And you got to respect it. You can never let up. And here's the thing. It makes them that much more dangerous because on 3rd and 6, it's not okay to give up 4 yards against the Detroit Lions. It's not okay to give up 5 yards and say, oh, now it's not okay to give up 5 yards on 3rd and 6 and then do this shit. Because they may not punt that bitch. So you better play defense on 3rd down so that they don't get in a position. And anytime they hand the ball off on 3rd down and 6, 3rd down and 4, anytime they do an inside gun run, you already know they're going for the shit. That run is designed to cut that 4th down in half. If it's 3rd and 4, get 2 yards and make it 4th and 2. We'll pick up those 2 yards on 4th down. If it's 3rd and 3, get 2 of them yards, make it 4th and 1. We'll run for it and get the first down. Hell, if you know, even we saw tonight, it was 3rd and 2. They ran it. They lost a yard and still went for the shit and got it. They don't give a damn. I mean, how many times were they in the red zone? They went for it on 4th down twice in the red zone. Scored touchdowns on both of them. You know how many teams would have kicked the field goal in those situations, or at least one of those times kicked the field goal? Not Dan Campbell. Not how he's wired. And again, I love it. I respect it. Because I know what they're about. I know how he's going to conduct business. So you can't act surprised. His players aren't shocked. They know that he has confidence in their ability to execute and get it done. And as a player, that's all you really ask for, is that my coach put us in the best positions to succeed. And if he's given us the green light to go out and get it done, then we got to make him right. It ain't on him. If he tells us, hey, y'all want to go for it, you know the players are like, hell yeah, we want to go for it. All right, well, make me right. Scared money don't make money. Scared money don't make money. Now, again, just because you ain't scared doesn't mean that you can't get your ass beat. Or in the case of money, just because you're not scared to spend money doesn't mean you're going to make money. Also, not being scared to make money means you ain't scared to lose money. But Dan Campbell obviously isn't scared to lose money. And that's how you make money. You got to be bullish sometimes and roll the dice. And he did it tonight. They went for it on 4th down 5 times tonight and executed 4 of them. That was the difference in the game. 2 in the red zone that led to touchdowns, directly led to touchdowns. And that one at the end of the game that allowed the Lions to walk it off without the Packers seeing the football one final time. And I have every bit of confidence that Jordan Love was going to get him in the field goal range. Did you see that throw he made to Christian Watson after eluding a blitzer? Jack Campbell was untouched up the A-gap. He avoids him, sidesteps him in the pocket, steps up, and delivers a dime. What? Hey, he was getting him in the field goal range. And Dan Campbell knew it. That's why he's like, nah. Either we finna win the game right now without him seeing it, or we finna lose this game off the strength of trying to get this first down so that he doesn't see it. But I'm willing to roll the dice because I already know what's going to happen if we kick this field goal. Totally different ball game when you used to kick a ball into the end zone for a touchback and the team started at the 20 or the 25. You'd be surprised at how big of a difference 5 yards is. A 20-yard gain and you're still at your own 45. This new rule, 20-yard gain, you at midfield. We talking about one more solid completion and you in field goal range. It's a different ball game, right? It's a big difference between a 58-yard field goal and a 63-yard field goal. It's a big difference between a 54-yard field goal and a 59-yard field goal. I don't need to keep going. You get where I'm going with this. Those 5 yards are huge. If I'm going to kick this ball out of the back of the end zone and you finna start this drive without any time running off the clock at the 30, it makes you think, do I really want to do this? And Dan Campbell, man, look, call him what you want. He's ballsy. Definitely is ballsy. And he didn't hesitate. Some of his decisions are reckless. Absolutely they are. But it's his decisions and it's what he does. Jared Goff was good again tonight. Did throw the 1 interception. That game changed very quickly. Very quickly. From 17-7 to 21-17 in the blink of an eye. But outside of that one ill-advised throw from Goff, he was spectacular tonight. And boy, does he throw a wobbly ball at times, boy. When he's trying to hurry up and get that shit out of his hands, it comes out all kinds of nasty, but it gets to its intended target every time. Every time. And it was fun to watch the tight ends play tonight on both sides. Tucker Kraft, beast. We already know what the Lions tight end is all about. He was spectacular in his rookie season. Is following it up with another outstanding season this year. That duo at the backfield, Sonic and Knuckles, ridiculous. They're just fun to watch. And they did a lot of damage tonight without really getting the ball to Amon-Ra St. Brown. He had the big catch there at the end that set him up in that inches situation, but he was relatively quiet tonight up until that particular catch. But Tim Patrick with 2 scoring touchdowns tonight, his first touchdown since 2021. So happy for him. You know, I'm a big Tim Patrick fan. I wanted him in Washington when he was a free agent like 4 years ago. Then all the injuries happened. And when he became available again, I was still sniffing around Tim Patrick, and he went straight to Detroit, made a beeline for the Lions, and now he's having a massive impact for them. Good for him. I've always been a big fan of his. So that Lions football team is resilient. You know, all the injuries that they have, and, you know, they're going to make a big deal out of the 13 guys on IR, but you look at that list of names, it's probably like 3 or 4 dudes max that are like massive contributors on that team. But nonetheless, it's still guys that might have been depth pieces that also have gotten hurt. Now you got to go sign guys off the street, which we saw tonight. Quan Alexander and Jamal Adams were playing meaningful snaps at critical junctures of the game for the Lions because of all the injuries that they've suffered this season. And you're playing on a Thursday night, quick turnaround. It sucks. So it's what good teams do, though. They don't make excuses. They just find ways, right? They don't find excuses. They find a way to win. And that's what the Lions did tonight. And it was a big one because even if they lose next week to Buffalo, they'll remain atop the NFC standings no matter what the Eagles do, because they would have only had 1 loss in the conference. Because the first tiebreaker that you'll get to, because the 2 teams didn't play each other this year, the first tiebreaker that you'll get to is your conference record. There may be a common opponents record, you know, games against common opponent record. But again, I don't think there's a lot of overlap in the games that they played against teams, you know, common opponents. I think that's more of a divisional thing because you play a lot of the same teams. I think the first tiebreaker that you get to when you're talking about 2 teams in the same conference is your conference record. And both of the Eagles' losses have come against NFC opponents, whereas the Lions' 1 loss has come against an NFC opponent. They both lost to Tampa Bay. But if they were to lose to, say, Buffalo next week, they'd still have a better conference record overall if the 2 teams finish the season with 2 losses, because they only got 1 loss to a conference opponent. So this was a big win. Losing to Green Bay would have been massive. Would have opened up the door for Minnesota. It would have opened up the door slightly for Green Bay, and it would have opened up the door massively for the Philadelphia Eagles. So this is a big win for Detroit. I can't help but think, though, eventually the rolling of the dice is going to catch up with them, just like it did last year in the NFC Championship game. You live by the gamble, you die by the gamble. And they're living right now, and they're living right. And again, the one thing that I can say that I respect is the consistency of it. This defense, I think Zadarius Smith has been a great addition. He looked good tonight. He got away with one on that play where he hits Love on a 3rd down. And I mean, he clubbed him in the dome piece. I still don't know how the official doesn't throw the flag there, but he's been a good addition. That O'Connor guy tonight, man, was he getting off the ball fast? Like, he was in the backfield consistently. They were aggressive. Man, Aaron Glenn was sending the house tonight, early especially. He was being aggressive. And, it took a couple of big plays, and it took a while. They didn't happen until the third quarter. But once he got hit a couple of times, he backed the hell off. He backed off a little bit, started rushing forward. But he was aggressive tonight. He was aggressive. And it worked early. It didn't work so much for them late. And with all the injuries, you worry a little bit about this Lions defense, just a tad bit. Just a tad. You worry about them moving forward, but you also have to take into consideration that it was a short week, so you were going to be missing some guys. This 10-day layoff is going to be massive for them. It's going to help them kind of recharge the battery, get some guys back. They'll be fine. I believe that. But I am a little concerned about their defense. Was actually pleasantly surprised by the pass rush early. And again, a lot of it was via the blitz. But they didn't get a lot of pressure late. And Love was able to stand back there and really get comfortable. And then when he didn't like what he saw, he was able to break, contain, get out of the pocket, and get yards with his legs. So I do think there are some cracks there defensively, things that you can't love if you're a Lions fan, can't be comfortable with. But you also have to be aware of the fact that they're banged up. You know what I mean? And you got to make do with what you got. And to watch them take guys that just got there in Quan Alexander and Jamal Adams and find a way to get it done with a patchwork, defense essentially, kudos to them. Kudos to them. Wasn't pretty. It wasn't a work of art by any stretch of the imagination. But as I always say, it wasn't pretty, but it was gritty. And most importantly, it was a dub. That's all you care about. Find a way to win. And the Packers are no slouch. They're no pushover. And they had to fight for this one, and they got it done. And it's one of those defining wins if you're the Lions. They've had several of these this year where you go, man, it's a hell of a win. The win against Minnesota earlier this year where they were down 10 early and battled back, took the lead. Then the Lions had to come back late in the game and win on a late field goal. Like, they've had some wins like that this year where you go, man, that is a gutsy win. This is another one of them. And ultimately, you're getting the sense that the playoffs in the NFC are going to run through the Motor City. That's what it's feeling like right now. They still got to finish out this season. Home for Buffalo next week is probably the toughest test left on the schedule, but you also have home for Minnesota in week 18. And right now, with the way the Eagles are set up, you're probably going to need that game, right? Probably going to need that game. But as I've mentioned, if you just keep winning, you'll be in a position. But I don't know what the tiebreaker will say if you lose to an NFC team, right? I only have accounted for losing to, say, a Buffalo. But if you lose to Minnesota, that's your second NFC loss. All of a sudden, things change. So, sandwiched in between those two home games, home for Buffalo, home for Minnesota to finish up at the end in week 18, are dates at Chicago and at San Francisco. So it's no cakewalk for Detroit, but it's doable. It's a doable schedule. And Jared Goff continues to play really well. What did he end up with tonight? Let's check and see what he ended up with. 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. 32 of 41. My goodness, 32 of 41. That's got to be almost 80%, right? 30 of 40 would have been 75. He's slightly above that, right? 32 of 41 has got to be like 79% is my guess. Let's see. 32 of 41. 78% My goodness, on 41 attempts. He finished the game completing 13 straight passes, did Jared Goff. He's playing at a high level, man. Got to give him credit. Only got sacked once tonight. That's big for him as well. He's playing at a really, really high level. He really, truly is. Big win for the Lions, 34-31. And their place kicker, Jake Bates, has been money this year. Big kick after big kick against Minnesota, big kick against Houston, big kick again tonight. He has been outstanding. When they've needed him the most, he stepped up. And Lions now 12-1 on the season. If you're Green Bay, look, nothing to hang your head about. You knew it was going to be tough. You were game. Josh Jacobs continues to be your best player, really, on the offensive side of the football. He had 3 touchdowns tonight. I wonder how many that is for him on the season now. I think that's 11 for him now on the season, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, he just continues to be, or is that 8 touchdowns rushing on the season? He's somewhere in that neighborhood. He just continues to be a problem, this Josh Jacobs. He ran very hard and physically tonight. Really, it was 2 guys doing a lot of the damage in the receiving game. Tucker Kraft at the tight end position and Christian Watson. At one point, Jordan Love had 143 yards passing, and 114 of them had gone to Christian Watson. So there weren't a lot of guys this is the real question. Did Jaden Reed touch the ball at all tonight? I'm curious. I don't recall 11 touching it at all. And that's actually really dumbfounding for me because he's so dynamic. Like, even if you can't throw it to him, he's a guy you can hand it to. Jet sweep, throw a wide receiver screen to. Put him in the backfield. He can serve as a guy that he's got Deebo Samuel-like qualities to his game. For him to not touch it, and again, I can't confirm that he didn't touch it. Just, I don't recall seeing him, and he's such a dynamic guy. You don't forget times where he touches the football. So I'm wondering if he touched it tonight. Jaden Reed, 1 target, no catches, no rushes. No, he didn't touch the ball tonight at all. That is hard for me to fathom. Like, if I'm a Packers fan, that would piss me off to no end because he's one of the most dynamic players we have on the offensive side. We can't go an entire 60-minute contest against the best team, not just in our division, but the best team in arguably the league, definitely the best team in the conference. We can't go 60 minutes without one of our best playmakers touching the football. Like, that baffles me. And so that's something that would bother me if I'm a Packers fan. I actually thought Jordan Love played well. I know the numbers don't necessarily bear that out because the completion percentage was not great. 12 of 20, yeah, that's not bad. 12 of 20 isn't great either, but I love the fact that he's averaging over 10 yards of completion, or an attempt rather. 12 of 20 for 206 and a touchdown. He had some big ones tonight. The Christian Watson 59-yarder. Watson had another sizable gain, and then you had Dontavian Wicks for a 26-yarder, and then Tucker Kraft. Boy, when he loads up and throws that fastball, not many do it better in the game than Jordan Love. That Tucker Kraft touchdown was crazy. I mean, that defender was right there, and he threw a 99-mile-an-hour fastball right by him. And that corner safety, whomever, was sitting on dead red fastball and couldn't catch up. It could not catch up. And we've seen Jordan Love load up. So you saw the fastball tonight. You saw the touch on the deep ball to Christian Watson. And then you saw the ability to avoid a rusher
step up and in the face of pressure, because even though he avoided that blitzing linebacker, stepped up, reset his feet, and got rid of it, that linebacker was coming back and the pocket was closing on him all at the same time, and he throws a dime, a 10 out of 10 to Christian Watson. That ball even got slightly tipped by the defender, still got to Watson. It was all on display tonight from Jordan Love. And I beat him up because he'll turn it over, right? No such throws tonight, no such plays where he just gives the defenders a chance. None of that tonight. He was on his best behavior, and he gave his team a chance. He really did. Sands for not getting the ball to Jaden Reed. I really don't have a ton of complaints offensively. They did start the game off slow. They took a while to get into an offensive rhythm, but once it happened in the second half, they were off and running. And defensively, they came into the game beat up. It seems like Jair Alexander is out more than he plays at this point. I guess I'll allow a Packers fan to confirm that for me or not, but it just feels like every time I watch the Packers, Jair Alexander isn't playing, right? He might play for 2 weeks, then he's out for 3 weeks. So no surprise that he didn't go in this game. But then I don't know if Lucas Van Ness came back, but he had something going on with his thumb. My guess is he came back in the game because it was heavily, wrapped or whatever. So my guess is he probably came back in, tried to play with it. I saw one of their young safeties leave the game. I don't think he returned. He looked like he had a head issue. And speaking of which, Aleem McNeil getting hurt for Detroit, that hurt them too, because he's such a force inside. And he was hurt on like the second or third play of the game and did not return. Or he did return and then left again and didn't come back. And they said it wasn't a concussion, but it had something to do with his head. So that's a big loss for them. So, they were already dealing with the number of guys out, and then you lose Aleem McNeil. That doesn't help if you're Detroit. And same with Green Bay. They had some guys leave this game, not return. The young safety out of Georgia, Bullard, didn't return in the game. So they had to play with mixed match parts. And they still were in this ball game with a shot late. But what seemed to be the problem for Green Bay, I will say, is, and I talk about this all the time with my team, right, is you need a shutdown drive, right? How many times did we see the Packers defensively or offensively score to take the lead, and they send their defense out and they say, defense, go get us a stop and get us back the football and give us a chance to build on this lead. Give us the ball back with the lead, with the chance to add to it. And they never once were able to do that. Jordan Love never, ever tonight at any point had the football, possession of it, with the lead, okay? Never did he once have that opportunity tonight. And that's a tough, bitter pill to swallow, right? Because as an offense, you do everything in your power to give your team a chance. And all you ask your defense to do is just give me an opportunity to extend this lead out. Give me a chance to build on the momentum of the last offensive drive. I call it a shutdown drive. I grew up as a baseball player. So what you would call that in baseball is a shutdown inning from your pitcher, right? We go out at the top half of the inning and we take the lead. On the bottom half of that inning, I need you to shut it down. Give up no runs. Allow us to go into the next inning and see if we can't build on the lead that we've created. We need a shutdown inning. They can't score any runs. Don't give them back, right? They were down 17-7. The Packers got the ball to start the second half. Ballsy call by Dan Campbell to go for it on fourth down, up 10-7, could have settled for the field goal. Most coaches probably would have. He rolled the dice, especially after losing yards on third down. Had they gotten, it was third and inches. I thought they should have quarterback sneak, right? They had done it the play before. Goff was slightly short. I thought they should have run it back again. Quarterback sneak, he probably would have scored a touchdown. They decided to hand it off. They lost about 1.5 yards. It was like at the 2-yard line. And then they ran that damn Texas route beautifully to perfection with
Jahmyr Gibbs isolated the linebacker McDuffie, got him going outside, cut right in front of him. There was nothing he could do. He was on skates and he was overmatched. Good ball from Goff, touchdown. So 17-7 at half. They come out and immediately hit Christian Watson for a deep ball. That set up a Josh Jacobs touchdown. I think either it was that or Tucker Croft. But either way, it's now 17-14. The ensuing possession, Goff throws a pick to Kyshawn Nixon, and boom, just like that, the Packers have the ball back. They get in the end zone with Jacobs, I believe, after that. Either that or Tucker Croft, one or the other. It doesn't matter. Touchdown, 21-17, just like that. You got the lead. All right, defense, go get us another stop. And they just couldn't do it. And the Lions went right down the field, retook the lead, right, 24-21. And they stayed there for a little while. And then Campbell got aggressive on a fourth down. I thought he was over-aggressive here. If anything, fake a punt, but don't line up and go for it that deep in your own territory. It's one thing to line up if it's 4th and inches. It was a legit 4th and 1. Like, punt the football, fake punt the football, catch them off guard, right? You only need a yard. But to line up, and they know what you're about, so they are expecting you to snap this football. Goff went up, kill. I think he was going to quarterback sneak it. They called 2 plays in a huddle. If they give us the look, I'm gonna snap it. I'm gonna go get this, quarterback sneak. They condensed, right? They shrunk down and they reduced their splits and they got right into that A and B gap area. And so he went kill, and they went, oh, you want to pinch inside? Now we should be able to get to the perimeter. Wrong answer. And the Packers stopped them. And what did they do? They went and they scored a touchdown off of that. Retook the lead at 28-24. And now you're asking your defense, get us another stop. And they couldn't do it. Lions went right down the field and got the touchdown and retook the lead 31-28. And so Jordan Love had to go to work and he got him in the field goal range. And they tied the game up at 31. All right, defense, get me a stop. Get me the ball with a chance to win. And they couldn't get the stop. And he never saw the football again. And that was the story of the night. They couldn't get the stops when they needed to get the stops. And Love never had the football with a chance. Never had it tonight with a chance. And that's tough. That's a bitter pill to swallow. But you got to credit Detroit because they were aggressive. Right? They went for it on 4th downs. They converted those 4th downs. They applied pressure to Green Bay. But at some point, you need your defense to make a play. And the Packers just simply could never do it tonight for whatever reason. They just couldn't make that one play that they needed to make to turn the tide in their favor. And that was ultimately the difference in the game. And that includes that final 4th down. For all of the struggles you had on the night, all of the 4th down conversions you gave up, all the opportunities you had to get off the field when you couldn't, you had a chance to make all of that go away with one stop on 4th down, and you couldn't do it. Montgomery gets the 1st down. That pretty much put them in a position where they were either going to win this game in regulation or it's going to overtime. You weren't going to have an opportunity. It's the equivalent of in the NBA, there's an 8-second difference between shot clock and game clock. The team takes a shot with 10 seconds left on the game clock, and they get an offensive rebound. You don't have any control over this game. It's tied, right? Normally, if it's tied, you want the game winning shot or you want to go to overtime, but it was a difference of 8 seconds on the game clock. You take that shot with 10 seconds left, right? But you get the offensive rebound, and now you can settle for one shot, and either we go into overtime or I'm going to hit this game winner and we going home, right? That's the equivalent of letting them get that 1st down. You get a stop there, you get the ball, you get to determine the outcome of this game. Either we're going to overtime or you win. You didn't get the stop. The basketball analogy, they got the offensive rebound, and now they got a chance to take the last shot, win the game, or it goes to overtime if they miss. And that's what happened. So, tough break for the Green Bay Packers. They've lost 4 games this season, 2 of which have come to this Detroit Lions team. Really, their struggles have come within the division. They've lost 4 games this season. 3 of the 4 have come against teams in their division. Once to Minnesota, twice to this Lions football team. That is really the story of their season right now. Is they can't win the games in the division. And if you can't beat teams in your division, you can't win the division. That's how it goes. That's the rule, right? Almost lost to the Bears. Probably should have lost to the Bears, right? Needed a field goal block to avoid the upset victory there, or the upset loss, rather, if you're the Packers. So they've struggled in the division, but still 9-4, still in good shape. So still think this is a playoff team. But again, inexcusable not getting the football to Jaden Reed. That is a problem for me. But you didn't lose this game on offense. So maybe you could have been a little bit better. Like the game was there in the first half for you to be a little bit more aggressive. Maybe you score points. Maybe you make some plays if he touches it in the first half. Maybe it's a different game. But you didn't lose this game on offense. You scored 31 points. Okay, you didn't lose this game on offense. So I could sit here and talk about Jaden Reed's absence. If you had only scored 19 points tonight, then we can make a bigger deal out of that. But you scored 31 points. You didn't lose this game on offense. So I digress. Anyway, let's go ahead and go inside the odds, brought to you by BetUS. We'll come out on the other side of that, get to the comment section, and see what you guys have to say. Let's go inside the odds, brought to you by BetUS.
Inside the odds.
Looking for a new book? BetUS has you covered, man. There are a lot of options out there, but not all the options are good options, and not all the options are offering you some of the things that BetUS brings to the table. Fastest payouts in the industry. Get back up to 10% on your net losses twice a year when you, as long as you are active within the last 6 months. And here's the big kicker. If you've never used BetUS before, you're a new user, you have a chance to get up to 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000 and 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000 when you use the promo code YouTube150. So this game went off at a 3-point favorite for the Detroit Lions, and Vegas had it pegged right. BetUS hit it right on the head. Lions won this game by exactly 3 points. Again, this is what the guys out in the desert get paid to do, right? Set these lines at a place where it makes sense. The total on this game over under was 52.5. Always encourage you to buy that half point. No shame in leaving that half point there, and getting your balls busted on, this thing being at 53. So buy that half point, get it to 53. But they were thinking more along the lines of 27-24, right? That's kind of the neighborhood that they were living in. It ended up being 34-31. So they were off by about 7 points or so. But nonetheless, what they end up 34-31. That's 65. So they were off by 13 points, quite a bit there. But nonetheless, they had the 3 points correct, right, as a spread. So good call there by the boys in the desert. But let's look at some more odds brought to you by BetUS. Pulled these off of their site today prior to the game. I was interested to see what the odds were at this juncture in a crowded and very competitive NFC North division. Obviously, the Lions are the favorites in this division, as they should be. Right now, minus 450, or it was prior to the game. That probably has gone up slightly with the win. Not like the Packers were the chief competition there. It was really the Vikings, but still, Um, had they lost, I mean, think about it from this perspective. Had the Packers somehow won this game, they would have been one game back, and they would have split the season series, right? And they would have been in a position to possibly win this division, right? They went out. Detroit loses to Buffalo next week, then loses to Minnesota later in the season. Who knows what could have happened, right? You never know. So it's a big win, obviously, for Detroit. And the Packers, any hopes of winning the division were flushed down the toilet with this loss. They were plus 1,400 before this game kicked off. Obviously, with that loss, dropping to 9-4. But more importantly, now you've been swept by the 12-1 division leading Lions. There's almost no chance of them catching up to Detroit at this point. So those odds are going to sink even lower. Meanwhile, for the Minnesota Vikings, you went into this game on Thursday Night Football at plus 450. I'd imagine that their number won't change with this outcome, but it will change depending on what happens with them against Atlanta on Sunday. Obviously, if they win that game, they're still right there. If they lose that game with this Detroit Lions win coupled in the mix, you would see their odds shrink and be reduced as well. The number one seed. So this was a big game for that for various reasons. We've talked about it already from the Lions angle. The Packers still had a shot at the number one seed. It was a long shot, but it was a shot nonetheless. You win that NFC North division and you're right in the mix for the number one seed. I mean, that's how competitive it's been, that if you find a way out of that thing alive, you got a shot at the number one seed. And so the Packers, as you can see, were the longest of the four teams from a shot wise, plus 3,000. It wasn't going to happen, but they had to win tonight. Obviously, that didn't take place. So they're pretty much out of this mix. It's a three-team race now between Philadelphia, Detroit, and Minnesota. The Eagles have, the Lions, obviously atop the conference right now. And with this win, probably increased their odds. They were at minus 200 before this game kicked off. Eagles at plus 190 are in second. Obviously, they're the second seed in the NFC. And, you know, a slip up here or there by Detroit, and the Eagles would be the biggest beneficiary, unless the Minnesota Vikings somehow sneak into that mix. They're at plus 750. I'm trying to think of the two losses that they've had this season. I know one of them came against the Rams on a Thursday night, because I remember I made that pick and I was so excited about getting that one right. Trying to think, and I think they had lost two straight when they did finally lose. I just can't think of who. Oh, the Lions. I already said that. So they lost to two NFC teams. So that makes their path to the number one seed a bit rocky, because it's two NFC teams that they've lost to. But again, they're one game back. Well, they were one game back prior to kickoff tonight. They need to win to remain one game back of Detroit. And remember, they play them in Week 18 now. For them, unfortunately, that game is in Detroit, but you still got a shot as long as you keep winning if you're the Minnesota Vikings. So interesting stuff there with the number one seed. Eagles probably have the best remaining schedule of all of these teams, being that the Vikings and the Lions have to play each other. The Packers and the Vikings have to play each other. You know, the Eagles are just sitting there saying, hey, you guys beat the hell out of each other, please, by all means. Meanwhile, the Eagles are playing teams like Carolina and Dallas and the Giants. And so it's set up. They got the Steelers and the Commanders still, but it's set up for the Eagles to be successful. So we'll see what happens down the stretch for the number one seed. Big shout out to BetUS for providing us with these odds. Head over to their site, take a look around, see what's out there. They've got the prop builder, a lot of things that should interest you if you are a bettor. Head over to betus.com. Use that promo code YouTube150. So let's get to the comment section, see what you guys have to say. Before we do that, want to make sure that you guys are aware
that if you want your comment read on the air, use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air if it is pertinent and time permits. We roughly have about 25, 30 minutes left in the show. So if you have something to say, use the hashtag LouieTLive. And if it's pertinent and time permits, we'll get to it. But I can't ensure that that will happen. If you want to ensure that your comment is read, use the super chat function. It allows you to have your comment shown up on the screen. Also, has your comment reacted to. But more importantly, it allows you to jump straight to the front of the line and ensures that your comment is read and reacted to. So with that said, let's get to the comment section. And we start with Ash. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ash writes, I put money on Goff, Burrow, Stroud to win MVP at the beginning of the season. Do you think Goff has a chance to win it? Or would you rank your how would you rank your MVP list so far? No, I don't think Goff can win the MVP. This feels like a two-man race. It's unfortunate that Burrow is playing on a team that defensively can't bust a grape, because he would be your league MVP right now. But unfortunately, league MVP is a combination of player and team award, which sucks because the team shouldn't be factored into it. But team success does matter when it comes to the matter of the MVP trophy. They don't just give that to anybody. Your team has to actually benefit from your good play. That's not Joe Burrow right now with the Cincinnati Bengals. So he's out. Goff is good, but he statistically, he's done some great things this season, but he's not going to stand up and stack up against a Saquon Barkley or a Josh Allen. He's just not going to do it. And there's the matter of that 5 interception game. If I'm an MVP voter, I can't get that game out of my head, right? Like, they won that game in spite of you. As an MVP, you shouldn't be putting your team in a position like that to lose a game and have them have to overcome it despite your efforts to lose the game. So I think it's a 2-horse race. Allen and Barkley feel like the two lead dogs in that clubhouse. Goff is going to hang around because the Lions are the best in the conference. So his name's going to continue to get brought up. And he's played well, don't get me wrong. But when it's all said and done, it's either Barkley or it's going to be Josh Allen. And it's a quarterback award. If there's a good quarterback, they're going to give the trophy to that guy. Allen has been knocking on the door a couple of times. I think he finally breaks through this time. And as long as Buffalo continues to play well, even if they don't get the number 1 seed in the AFC, if they're right there behind Kansas City, I surmise that Allen will be your league MVP this year. But Barkley's right there. And if they continue to have success and somehow the Eagles end up with that number 1 seed and Barkley has like a 225-yard, 3-touchdown performance to cinch it, that might sway the voters, at the very end. But I'd rank them right now. Allen 1, Barkley 2. I'd probably say Jackson 3 and then Goff 4, to be honest with you. And then Burrow 5. That's how I would rank them right now. I mean, Jackson, if the Ravens were playing at the level the Bills are playing at right now, Lamar would be probably in the position to win his 3rd MVP trophy. This is his best season of his career, if you ask me. And I've seen him run all over guys and have statistical seasons that were anomalies, especially on the ground. And he can run a little bit more, but throwing the football, I haven't seen Lamar be this good throwing the football in his career. So, but again, they're not winning. That's the biggest issue. They're not winning at the clip that when he's been league MVP, the 2 times he was league MVP, they were the number 1 seed in the AFC. So that's not happening this year, obviously.
NRG, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. NRG writes, watching Dan Campbell coach the Lions is what I wish the Commanders would have been like under Ron Rivera. Look, I don't advocate for guys to be someone else. Be who you are, right? Dan Campbell is comfortable in his skin. And what it takes to be Dan Campbell is you got to be willing to take the good with the bad, because you already know that it's not always going to work out in your favor. But you can't be afraid to fail, right? And if you fail, you got to be willing to fall on the sword. You got to be willing to stand up after the game in front of the media and say, hey, that's on me. I made that call. Even if you make the right call and to go for it, that is, and then the perfect play call is drawn up and your players don't execute, it falls on you. And you got to be willing to bite that bullet. Just like in the NFC Championship game, he made a ballsy call. We could debate, and we did, when that game happened. I said, I respected, he went for it on 4th down 3 times in that game. 2 of them, he could have taken points. They didn't take the points on either situation, and they failed on both of those 4th downs. He did get it on one time, but I said I would have went for it once. I would have kicked the field goal in the other instance. But guess what? They had a good play call on both of those times they failed. And I forgot the name of the receiver, Reynolds. They had Reynolds last year, and he dropped the ball twice. Twice he dropped the ball. But you can't blame Reynolds. You got to take the fall. You got to fall on the sword and say, that's on me. And you got to be okay with that. And Dan Campbell is okay with that. Not all coaches are okay with that, because most coaches much rather err on the side of caution so that if it doesn't work, you can at least say, hey, this is a group think mentality. Hey, you would have done the same thing, right? It's easy to explain something away when everybody thinks rationally about it and says, hey, I would have done that. I would have done the same thing. The backlash isn't as great. When you step out of that box of that group think mentality and you go in the other direction, if it doesn't work, they're going to crucify you. And you got to be comfortable in your own skin. And Campbell is. Ron Rivera never was. He went for it the first time in 2020 against the Giants. He told us what his methodology was, which was when we're on the road, you go for 2. If you're at home, you kick the extra point. And it didn't work against the Giants. He caught a lot of flack for it because we were the better team in that game. And so people were saying, you had all the momentum. You were the better team. You should have kicked the extra point. And he let that shit go to his head. And then the next time we were in that situation against the Eagles, he bitched up because he remembered what he did 2 years ago and it didn't work. We were on the road. He should have gone for 2 and he didn't. But that's not in his DNA. Everybody gave him that nickname of Riverboat Ron. That shit went to his head, but that's not who he was. That's not who he was. So ultimately, it bared itself out over time. He was very conservative in situations when we needed him to be aggressive. This is who Dan Campbell is, right? That's why you got to love him. Either love him or hate him, but you got to respect it. Whatever it is, you got to respect it. Elf Life, been a member for 5 months. Really appreciate you, who writes, have you ever tried the next gen version of Thursday Night Football? No, but I've heard really good things about it. And I've seen it. I've seen demonstrations of it where they have the player's name over their heads, all the eligible receivers. They have that player trace on them. So wherever they run, they have the little markers follow them. They have the players' routes and things of that nature. Almost like Madden, right? It looks like you're playing Madden. I heard it's pretty dope. But I don't know if I need all those bells and whistles. I don't know if I think I'm old man, get off my lawn when it comes to, I don't need distractions. I don't need a whole bunch of shit on my screen. It might I don't know. I think I might be on some ADHD shit. If you put all those lines and I might be focusing on the wrong damn thing. Like, oh shit, did you see that route he ran? The ball is on the other side of the field, but I'm watching some ancillary route on the backside because the line on the field is all squiggly and shit. I don't need that. I just need to focus on the goddamn game. So I haven't done it, but I've heard good things about it. But I think I'm just gonna stick to my basic. Like, I remember when the Eli Manning cast, the Manning cast came out, I was all for it when it first came out. And I was religiously watching that thing. I had 2 TVs, so I could watch one with the Eli Manning cast and one on the game. And I would mute the game and just because at that time, the reason I was doing it is the commentators on ESPN were awful. You know, Joe Tessitore and Booger McFarlane and I want to say Witten was still there. Witten might have been gone, and it might have just been Booger and Joe at that point. But it was bad, right? I can't do this shit. Then they did the I think Kirk Herbstreit might have was he up there for a year? I don't know. No. It wasn't Kirk Herbstreit. Then they did the Louis Riddick. I think it might have been Greasy and what's the hockey guy name from ESPN? I don't know. I can see his damn face. I can't think of his name. But they were doing, I think they were the ones doing. I was like, yeah, I can't do this shit, man. So I was doing that. But then what I realized is the Manning cast, they were talking about non-football shit while the game was happening. Penalties would happen. I don't know what they're calling. And they're not telling me what they're calling because they're talking to some celebrity or some ex-player that ain't watching the game, that don't give a shit. And so I'm like, yo, y'all are really distracting me right now. Like, so I realized doing that, I just need to watch the game. I don't need any distractions. But I've heard good things about the next gen version. Bleed Green Savage. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Bleed Green Savage writes, they won't score 21 in the Eagles. Not scared. It would be interesting. I mean, every time the Eagles have played a good offense that's a high-powered offense that's been scoring points this season, they've shut them down. So I you know what? I wouldn't say that the Eagles wouldn't be able to slow them down either. Like it'd be a fun matchup for sure. And it may ultimately be the NFC Championship game, right? And that's why it's so important to try to get home field advantage because, you know, the difference could be whoever's at home. Like if you're the Lions, you don't have to play outside, right? You don't have to go to Philadelphia. You know it's going to be cold. You know it's going to be loud. You don't have to deal with that shit. Everybody's got to come inside to Detroit where it's loud and your fans are starving and hungry, right? So that might be a fun matchup. And I can't right now, after watching what the Eagles did to both the Commanders and the Ravens, 2 of the highest scoring offenses in the league, I got to respect it. Can't say that you wouldn't be able to stop them from scoring 21 because I didn't think you would stop the Commanders from scoring 21, and you did. I didn't think you were going to stop the Ravens from scoring 21, and you did. So can't say that wouldn't happen. Can't say that wouldn't happen. Eric Sunderland. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy. Eric, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, Super Bowl preview next week. Outside the Commanders, Bills v. Lions is my dream Super Bowl matchup. You got any soft spots for any AFC team? None. I don't have like really admire this player or really like this team or none of that shit in the AFC. Not really, no. Really don't have anybody in the NFC either other than the Commanders. I'm just a Commanders fan. Like once upon a time, I loved Barry Sanders. So if it wasn't the Washington Redskins winning it, then I was cool with Detroit winning it, right? But I can't really say that I have a preference. You know, the Patriots aren't around anymore. Like, I don't have a Chiefs problem. If they won 80 gajillion Super Bowls in a row, it doesn't matter to me. I don't hate the Chiefs. Like, they do nothing wrong to me, right? Like, There was the Patriots were the easiest villains in the NFL, and they made it easy for you to root against them. I don't have that same feeling. Like the Chiefs are the equivalent of the San Antonio Spurs to me. Like I never had a negative bone in my body towards the San Antonio Spurs with Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, in that group. Never won, right? Same with the Chiefs. Like I don't have anything against them, no animosity at all whatsoever. So if they won again this year, okay. First team to do it. Like I mean, I think I guess Bills fans are awesome. And I like Josh Allen. I'm a Josh Allen fan. So if you made me pick a team, it'd be Buffalo. But I like Lamar Jackson too. And I'd like to see Lamar win and get that monkey off of his back. So yeah, but again, I don't have a preference personally. You know, I think it's wide open in both conferences. I know Detroit and Philadelphia feel inevitable, but both of them can get beat by, like there are no dominant teams in either conference, right? It seems inevitable that it's Chiefs, Bills on that side. It feels inevitable that it's Eagles, Lions on this side. I'm here to tell you it's not basketball or baseball where it's best of 7. And usually in those instances, the best team wins. All I have to do is be better than you that day. If you show up and you decide to turn it over 3 times and your field goal kicker misses 2 kicks, you can get beat, right? It just takes one game. That's it. And none of these teams seem like dominant. You just saw the Lions, almost lose tonight. And again, not that if you're a dominant team, you don't have close calls. The good teams find ways to win. But I also watched this Lions team throw 5 interceptions and was down 23-7 on the road to a Texans team that hasn't been impressive in 2 months. So, like, at any point, you can get got, right? So, I've said that the Eagles start slow. Like, that's an issue. It hasn't been until it becomes one, right? But it's a real problem. They've scored the least amount of points in the NFL in the first quarter. You run into a team that gets off to a hot start and you're down 14 or 17 nothing midway through the second quarter because you didn't score any first quarter points. And all of a sudden, Saquon Barkley can't be fed the football 26 times. Uh-oh, what do? I don't know, right? Maybe you don't stop giving it to him, but if it's not working immediately, because normally with Saquon, he wears you down. It's not immediate, Saquon got me for 130 yards in the first half. It's usually, fourth quarter, here comes 2 big Saquon Barkley runs. Now he's exploded. He only had 62 yards heading into the fourth quarter, but he had a 37-yard run and another 34-yard run. And next thing you know, you look up and he's got 152 yards rushing. Well, can't keep doing that if you're down 17-0 or you're down 24-6, can you? So, again, against that defense, it's going to be hard to put up points. That's what's been saving them. But, again, they're beatable. They're beatable. The Eagles are beatable, right? Same thing with the Chiefs, right? We watched them lose. They should have lost to the Raiders, right? Buffalo was just down 10-6 at halftime to the Tennessee Titans a month ago. Like, there are no dominant teams this year in the NFL. They're really good teams. And like I said, the likelihood is one of those 4 teams is going to be representing their conference, right? Eagles, Lions on the NFC side, Bills, Chiefs on the AFC side. The likelihood is one of those 4 teams will be representing the respective conferences when it's all said and done. But I wouldn't count out anybody right now. Let's get to the comment section real quick. All right. Let's see what you guys talking about. All right, here we go. No, we don't go. All right. John Wynn says Seahawks versus Cardinals this Sunday on CBS going to be an easy game for Seattle. An easy game for Seattle. Are you even favored in that game? Easy game for Seattle. Let me check. You just be saying stuff, John. An easy game for Seattle. You guys won that game 2 weeks ago against them at home, 16-6. And 7 of those points came on a Kyler Murray pick 6. And you talking about an easy game. Let me see. You might not even be favored in this game. You ain't even favored in this game. Talking about an easy game for Seattle. What you talking about, John? You just talking. Ebad Shamin, thank you for this. Writes, man, Lions have a number of injuries, but they still find a way to get it done and win games. True contender. That they are. That's the mark of a good team. They don't make excuses. They make a way. That's the mark of a good team, right? Figure it out. Ebad writes, that 6th seed still looks possible for us now. This was a big step towards that. But again, we got to win and we got to continue to win. Right? I mean, honestly, I still expect Green Bay to end up as the 6th seed, but matter of fact, let's look at their remaining schedule. I haven't done that yet. Let's look at Green Bay's remaining schedule. All right. I think we did do this. I think I did do this already. But they got, I did this last night. They got the Seahawks, then the Saints, then the Vikings, and the Bears. I find it hard to believe that they don't win 3 out of their final 4. I see them going to Seattle and winning, beating New Orleans at home. They could lose at Minnesota. That's the one game I see them losing. And then they got the Bears at home in Week 18. I don't see them losing any other game than possibly at Minnesota in Week 18. That's it. And that's not a given that they lose that game either. So I just don't see them losing enough games to allow us to. Right now, they feel like a 12-5 team at worst. They could be 13-4. We can't get to 13-4. Obviously, we've lost 5 games. And in order to get to 12, we'd have to run the table. And again, we still have to play Philadelphia and Atlanta and Dallas again, right? So, and the Saints. Like, I don't want to disrespect anybody. We're not in a position to be overlooking anybody and looking down our nose at anyone. So, while it's still possible, anything can happen, obviously. I just think Green Bay is going to find a way to get that 6th seed. So just make the playoffs. That's all I care about at this point. I would prefer to avoid, right, the Packers or the Lions and the Eagles in wild card weekend. I want those teams in the divisional round, right? But whatever it is, I just want in. I want in and I want a shot. That's it. We'll figure out the rest of it once we get there. Somebody said you can hand the ball off on a knee. Yeah, that's what Jared Goff literally did on that 4th down. Let's see. Kevin, my guy Kevin, right? Honestly, pretty encouraged. Don't think our O-line will get beat like that again. And our D-line really showed good push and great run D. Offense needs to start quicker. And where were the screens? I agree with you have to start faster on offense. Your first half offense up until that one drive where you scored the touchdown was laughable. Like, you were really lacking in the pass game. The one touchdown drive that you had, it was aided by penalties. You ran it like 10 times. You only threw it like twice. I still am flabbergasted that you didn't get Jaden Reed involved at all in this game. That was the thing that stuck out to me the most watching the game initially. It was like, where's Jaden Reed? I don't understand why he hasn't touched the football yet. He's too dynamic of a football player. They kept bringing up Romeo Dubs. I'm like, F Romeo Dubs. This is the same dude that got mad because he wasn't getting the ball and didn't show up for work, and they had to suspend him again. Like, F that dude. I mean, I know he's a good player, and he's been a big time receiver for you at times. That's not your best receiver. Your best receiver is Jaden Reed. Get him the football. He even touched it today. That's crazy. Crazy to me. And this is the outside looking in. You might tell me Romeo Dubs is a better receiver. I just know Romeo Dubs will drop the football in a heartbeat. He'll make a great catch, but he also drop the football on a routine catch. Give me some Jaden Reed, man. And I've done a complete 180 on Jaden Reed. I mocked the Green Bay Packers for drafting that kid in the second round. And Packers fans are like, you don't know what you're talking about. Shut up. He could play ball. And they were right. Let's see. Comasel Brown says, bro, the Lions not like us. They can do or try anything because they are confident that even if their QB throws 5 interceptions, they're confident they will still go and win. So gambling ain't shit to them. Well, that's one way to look at it, but really it boils down to they just got the utmost confidence because that's been instilled in them by their head coach. Like, you remember Bad Boys 3? Bad Boys for Life, the last one, where Martin Lawrence's character doesn't believe he can die, right? He's like, I've been to the other side and I can't be killed, right? Like, I got great fortune. I can't die. That's how the Lions feel. Like, we've been at the bottom. We know what it's like to be 3-13, 3-13-1. We know what it's like to start the season off 1-6. And we ain't going back. And we are super confident that no matter what, we got a shot to win because we're well coached and we believe in our, and more importantly, our staff believes in us. So, yeah, Jared Goff can throw 5 interceptions, but when your coach comes out of the locker room at halftime and says, they're down 23-7. They've been dominated in every facet of the game. And their coach comes out on the sideline interview and says, hey, we just got to settle down and we got to get a turnover. We talked about this before the game started. We got to take the ball away. We need a turnover. We get one of those. We'll be in this game at the end with a chance to win. And as he says that shit, they force a turnover. And guess where they were at the end of the game? With the football with a chance to win. That's why they believe. Because that's the messaging. There's no confusion. There's no, well, maybe this week he'll go for it. Maybe next week because we're playing a tough opponent, he'll be conservative. No, I don't give a shit if it's the Bears, if it's the Patriots, or if it's the Chiefs. We're going to be aggressive no matter who the opponent is. Period. That's just how they rock. That's how they roll. So, it starts with it's a mentality. It starts up here. Dan Campbell has instilled in that team that no matter what, we're going to find a way to win. Because that's how we built. Metaphor writes, the Green Bay loss much better for us to move up to the 6th seed. Huge. I mean, I talked about that on the show earlier today. I said, our rooting interest starts tonight. We should be rooting for Detroit. for multiple reasons, right? For our own selfish reasons, we need Green Bay to lose because if we want out of that 7 seed, we need Green Bay to lose, right? That's the only way we're going to catch up to them. But to add on to that, we don't want to see Philadelphia with the 1 seed, right? None of us do. F that, right? Anyway, all right, we hit our time limit. So let's go ahead and glide to the side and get out of here. Big shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this stream. If you haven't already, check out BetUS. A lot of intriguing opportunities there. The prop builder is there. That's pretty fun. I've told you I've messed around with the prop builder. That's pretty dope. You can put together your own prop bet. And again, if you've got a hunch, you can make some money off of it. Use the promo code YouTube150 to get you 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000. 125% sign-up bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000 when you use the promo code YouTube150. Big win for the Detroit Lions, man. Stay atop of the NFC North with the win, but more importantly, stay atop of the NFC as a whole, improving to 12-1 on the season with a 34-31 victory. Dan Campbell, he did it again, rolls the dice in a very, very sketchy situation. Like, I'm pretty sure the analytics said kick the damn field goal, and Dan Campbell was like, F your analytics. I'm not giving Jordan Love an opportunity to possess this football. Period. Again, the risk far outweighed the reward, but he came up big. His team made him right, and that's all that matters, is they made him right. But if he doesn't get that and the Packers go down and kick a field goal, he's got to answer to it. But just like he did in the NFC Championship game, he's not afraid. And that's what makes the Lions so dangerous. Is their head coach, he ain't scared. He ain't scared about his job. He ain't scared of the shit you talking about. He ain't scared about people questioning his methods. It's what he does. If he is successful, we'll look at him as a genius. If it doesn't work, we'll use him as a scapegoat. He doesn't mind either way. He's going to be who he is, and his team is going to be who they are because of him. Hate it or love it, got to respect it. They get it done again because Dan Campbell rolled the dice on 4th down 5 times, and they executed 4 of the 5, including 2 on 4th downs in the red zone for touchdowns. And then the game winner at the end. Wow. That was ballsy. Dangerous. Borderline reckless, but effective. They win the game 34-31, improved to 12-1. Packers, hell of an effort. Couldn't get the one stop they needed to win this game. They fall to 9-4, but they're right there in the mix to be a playoff team. That is for certain. And like they showed us last year, once they get in, they can be dangerous. I thought Jordan Love played his ass off today. And so they get in the postseason, they're going to be a load to deal with. And I expect them to be there. We'll see as what seed, 5 seed, 6 seed, 7 seed. That remains to be seen, but they're in good shape at 9-4. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Until next time, I'm your man Louie T. signing off. I thank you for joining me here on Thursday Night Football Overtime. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the Louie T Network podcast. Until then, take care, God bless, and good night.